Blog Talk Radio.
I love that Blog Talk Radio countdown voice. It's so exciting for us all. From Boulder, Colorado, Over the Top Radio, I'm your host, George Thomas. We have had a great time with our fall race preview series, and I want to thank all of you who have listened and listeners who sent in word of the show responses. We're going to be having our drawing for the winner of the Cardo BK1 Duo. That's a unit which includes 2 headsets, $389 value. From those of you who sent in correct answers for every word of the show. My 7-year-old daughter, Amelia, yes, she's the one who joins me for our annual Christmas Eve show where we read holiday stories before Santa arrives. She's going to be pulling a name from her Pack Tour Cowgirl hat, which was presented to her in Tombstone, Arizona by none other than Sue Notarangelo. Drawing is going to be held at the end of the show, so sorry you got to listen to the whole thing. Now we encourage you to check out the BK1 systems, as they are the gold standard in communications for endurance bicycle races. BK1 and BK1 Duo are available at cardosystems.com. CARDOSYSTEMS.com. And we've got a nice cross-section of 508 finishers with us this evening. We've got race winner Marco Ballo, Mick Walsh, Adam Bickett, Jill DeFreitas Robinson, Jim Ryan, Jody Lawston and her raging case of asthmatic bronchitis, and Mike Wilson. Mike had an especially successful race as he and 3 of the racers whom he coaches finished officially. Welcome to the show, all of you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, George.
Hi, thank you.
Mike Wilson, I want to start with you. Pretty amazing weekend. You had Robinson and Lawston, and you also tied with your client, Sarah Cooper, for 7th place overall. Sarah couldn't make it tonight. She's going to be joining us tomorrow evening. You got to be riding pretty high right now, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, we had a great race. It was an exciting race to be a part of as a solo, and also to see these guys just go out and tear it up. I mean, I got to watch firsthand to see Jody and Jill and Sarah do so well. It's a result of a lot of hard work on their part. So congratulations, guys.
What was that like to actually tie with Sarah?
I've been hearing this question a lot. I don't exactly know how to answer it. It was probably one of the neatest ultra experiences I've ever had because, you know, on paper, I wasn't exactly sure. I didn't really ever look at it in terms of, you know, we're racing, being in different divisions or whatever, but it just was really neat that it worked out that we were so close together on the race course. So that was really cool.
And Mick Walsh, you had kind of a bittersweet weekend. You had a great Raw earlier in the year. You had some difficulties at Race Across Oregon, Cascade Ultra. You actually won your division at Ring of Fire, but you were hit with your stomach issues right at the end. So you really were putting all your focus into finishing the 508 solo. You had a great race, only to learn a day later that your mom passed away. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I don't know, mixed emotions. I was driving just after I left my house, driving over to pick up Chris at Ragsdale. Bob had come over to the house and we drove over picking up Chris, and my sister called, and I was like, oh, that might not be good. My mother's been in a nursing home, and she's been up and down, but, you know, nothing too bad. And so we got to Chris, and I answered the phone, or I called my sister back, and she said that, yeah, my mother had developed pneumonia, and they didn't think she'd make it through the weekend, but that she thought I should still go ahead and do the race. So it was kind of inspiring. You know, my mother was fighting to stay alive, and I was just waiting to finish the race. So it was really inspiring, and it really helped me. I think when I got to Austin, I had some sort of altitude sickness. My stomach wasn't bad. I was just delirious, and had to spend 4 hours in bed. I didn't think I was going to be able to get out again, but I just didn't have to try, and actually felt pretty good when I got going again. So it was good. I'm heading back tomorrow now to go to the funeral on Saturday, so it's been an emotional week.
Thanks, Mick. There's a lot of noise in the background. If you could either tune that out somehow. It sounds like you're in a restaurant or something where there's a lot of cooking going on in the kitchen, or I don't know how else to describe it. There's a lot of banging in the background. So if you could somehow get rid of that noise, I'd appreciate it. Adam Bickett, top three, all everyone wants to hear about are your broken bars, so please say a couple of words about that. But I know you did this for a Ram tune-up, and I'd like to know how this weekend showed you how well prepared you are for next year's Ram.
Right. So the bars issue, going close after I switched to my road bike again, there's a second series of climbs starting at about mile 100. Crossed the rumble strips, and right around the shifter clamp, my bars broke. I was able to keep it up, but obviously couldn't ride that bike anymore, so I was stuck for many thousands of feet of climbing on my TT bike, and that was pretty rough, but turns out that Crow's crew, Crow and his crew had spare handlebars, and somehow between my crew and them, they figured out that was my issue, and I ended up with spare handlebars to get me back on the road bike a little while later. So that was pretty awesome. It was awesome of Crow's, super great show of sportsmanship, and he ended up finishing second ahead of me. That was really cool, because that would have been a brutal ride to finish the last 400 miles on my TT bike. The other question, I felt great overall in this race. Clearly wasn't as fast as Marco, but I was able to pace well, finish feeling really strong, and I think it bodes very well for Ram next year. Not to say there isn't a lot of extra work to go on in the next 8 months or so.
And we're certainly hoping to follow you actually in your lead up to Ram between now and next June. So hoping to get a lot of check-ins from Adam Bickett during that time. Jody, you with us?
Sorry,
Jody Lawson?
Can you say again? Yeah.
So you got sick after your first pull, altitude. You were having some asthma problems.
Yeah.
When we were speaking before the race, we were really talking about teamwork. How did the two of you pull together? I mean, wow, your first pull and you're sick.
Yeah. Well, I think we worked great together as a team. I knew going into it I was going to potentially have issues with the colds. And that's exactly what happened in my first stage. And then it just kind of got worse from there, especially I had the stage in the middle of the night. So it was cold. It was, I think, 34, 32 degrees during that time. And I was having a rough time with it. So the crew was great. I would say, the entire team kind of pulled together and helped keep me warm and help get me through it.
The person who actually had that background noise was Marco. We're trying to work out getting him back on there. But how did you feel, Jody, when that happened? I mean, were you like, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to pull this together and keep riding?
I knew I was going to keep riding. I just didn't I didn't know how fast I could go. I had to kind of pull back my power a little bit and watch my breathing. So I was wheezing, and I was also I was having shortness of breath, I think probably because of the altitude and just the cold air. So it was more of, in my mind, kept telling myself that I was going to finish. I just knew I wasn't going to quit.
I'm really impressed. And how did the two of you come through?
Great, I think. I don't know. Jill, what do you think?
I think we did great. It was fun to be on this team with Jody. It was the first time that we raced together as a team, and I knew she had a lot of willpower, and we both showed that, and I think we worked really well together, and I'm proud of what we did out there. So,
did you achieve your goals that we talked about on the show earlier?
Yeah, we were within our range, and we kind of had a range that we had kind of set up for ourselves, and we were in that range.
Now, Jim Ryan, 508 Hall of Famer. You're out there. You really wanted to have a good time with your friends. And how did you, of all people, end up with a penalty?
Well, it's we had this Bluetooth speaker that for years we'd always been, bringing speakers and amps to the races to hook up on the van so we could have music at night. And I got this brilliant idea to look on Amazon and get this Bluetooth speaker, that you could just sort of suction cup to the window. So we got that, and it worked pretty well. And sort of pre-race, we tested it out. And then on the course, we hooked it up to a satellite radio receiver. And inside the van, you couldn't hear it at all. But outside, you could hear it a little, And so we were on the stage that comes from Eureka back to Austin, and we're coming into Austin at night, and everybody in the van was just cruising along, totally forgetting the music was blasting as we rode triumphantly through town. and then the official, he didn't think it was as entertaining as we did, so he wrote us up for a penalty, which we served at the last time station before the finish. So that was our, it wasn't going to make or break us, but it was kind of a bummer because we wouldn't typically leave the music blasting like that. But what the heck.
But other than that, how did your race go?
I think it went pretty good. We have two people on our team. We had Gary Birel, Paul Kingsbury, and Wanda Tachi, now Wanda Kingsbury. And Wanda and Paul had crewed for me for a few years at the 508 solo, and then we rode two tandem teams together. And then this past August, Paul and Wanda got married, so we kind of nicknamed the van the Love Boat. And and I think the honeymoon period was still going on because they were in good spirits the whole race and really got along, so that was good to see. But I think the toughest part was the leg that Gary had at night on that section that went from came through on 722 coming back from the turnaround, and it was in the 20s on, by the time we rode through there, and it was, kind of, past midnight, and he was super cold, and he kind of joked afterwards that he brought a big tub of bike clothes with him, and he said he wore everything that was in the tub all at the same time. So he had some real challenges with the cold weather, and we had to stop a few times to kind of get him warmed up, and but other than that, I think everybody rode pretty well, and it was a fairly quick course.
Now, Marco Ballo, thank you so much for joining us. Overall champion, first champion ever on this course. What did you think of it? You were here in Colorado adapting to the altitude, and then you were able to spend some time out there previewing the route. How did it go? Marco, you with us?
Okay.
Marco?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Champion overall, I mean, you just were mind-blowing with your speed. How did you feel out there?
Well, I felt very good until the last time station. the Geiger climb the last, on the return, kicked my butt. These pitches in Virginia City it's really hard, so yeah. Otherwise, I felt great. As you could tell, I didn't feel, doing too much, going fast like I did. In fact, I didn't want to start like I did, but I was so cold. When Chris Cotman was kind of driving too slow for me, and I was very cold when he came to Geiger at the start. So I just wanted to warm up. So I guess I went pretty fast at that time. Then after that, I just kept plowing along as I wanted to. I don't know. I have the power meter, so I was keeping the numbers where I wanted them to be, and I was kind of surprised that people didn't catch me. Just Adam, I don't know. I was expecting him to catch me and then maybe share a little bit of the burden, but I am pretty satisfied with the race. So it was fast, yeah. Especially, the east way was, I don't know, it was really working for me. Everything clicked, and the crew was great. So thanks to them again. They were awesome, and I don't know. I didn't have any problems. As I said, until the last part, I began to feel that I put in a lot of effort, even if I wasn't feeling it at the time. But yeah, at the end I could feel it. I was pretty trashed at the end. And you should be up.
Now this is a question for all of you. And Marco, I want to start with you. You actually came out to Colorado and acclimated to altitude for about a week beforehand, and then you spent another week out of Reno previewing the course. Was the altitude, did that affect your race at all, or did you have enough time to acclimate?
No, I'm sure I had enough time. I don't even think you need particularly acclimatization for that altitude in Reno and the race. The thing I did was more just wanted to help my client who wished to ride those climbs in Colorado. Otherwise, it surely didn't hurt, and it surely didn't hurt that I knew the course, because I rode all the course on the way back, so I knew it at least in reverse, and I knew the first two stages both ways. So yeah, it helped. I think knowing the course, it surely helps. Yeah, it helped me a lot.
Mike Wilson, how about you? You live in San Diego, so you're right at sea level, but you also have Palomar, so you are able to get some altitude training in. How did the altitude affect your race?
I think the altitude played a role. I think Marco's right on that. If it were higher altitude, it would play a bigger role. But I think particularly for me and for a lot of people I talked to, it was a combination of the altitude, the particulates, and the high desert, which I think half the people on this call are probably like I am, still coughing stuff up. And then the third factor being the cold air. And, the faster you went through there on the course, I think it served you better, because later in the night, as everyone's saying, 40s became 30s, became 20s. And it was crazy, because the higher you got on Carroll Summit or wherever on the course, the warmer it got, which is absolutely insane. But that air just sits in those deserts and those dry lake beds, and the combination of the altitude, particulates, and the cold, it was bad news for a lot of people.
And Mick, it sounded like that was kind of bad news for you when you were in Austin. You took a 4-hour break. Was that because of altitude?
Yeah. Mike came past me, tried to tell me I was looking good while I was doing 4 miles an hour going up that climb into Austin. But I don't know. I just was like, I couldn't stand when I got up. I got into bed. I was shivering cold, and I couldn't breathe. And so I thought it's like, no, another race over. But I just kind of said, well, we got a hotel room. It's an out and back. I can just roll out the road a bit, and if it doesn't happen, I can just come back. So I have nothing to lose. I put a lot into coming down here to do this, so I'll give it a shot. And I felt good. That last hill, like the last segment, I was actually pretty happy that I was at the fastest time overall. So that was good. It was really exciting to catch. I felt sorry for Ray, but I was really excited to catch him just close to the top of Geiger and to the finish and take the 50-59 classification. So
you got it.
Yeah, the altitude. Yeah. So, but Greg Geister had the 60-64 ahead of me, or 60-69.
Now, we also have Andrea Alfaro here, who is the crew chief for Jody and Jill. I'd like all three of you to kind of pitch in here. And again, I'm just, you were a team that with this format, you really can't favor the person who is having a problem. So, Andrea, how were you able to work with Jill and Jody? Did you have to make any changes as the race was going on to overcome your problem?
The course was new for all of us, so unlike Furnace Creek that we had all seen either raced it or crewed it in the past, we kind of had to take one stage at a time. And as things came up, we just found a way to work around it. It got cold, so we put on more layers. At one point, we just kind of stuck one of them in the front seat and put the heat on, and we kind of did jumping jacks outside while they were getting warmed up. And if they had some stomach issues, we tried something else, and we cut the power down, and we, dropped the pace a little bit and changed up the diet a little bit, and we all the stuff that we, had in our arsenal bag, and we were able to use it. So they did great. They were very adaptable, and learning experience for everybody, and this is how you get through a 500-mile race and all the little, the stuff that gets thrown at you and how you have to overcome it. So I give them big props for, trusting what myself and Ginger, who was our other crew person, was offering for suggestions, and they trusted us, and we worked through it. It was great.
Jill, Jody.
Jill, you want to go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. I had legs 2, 4, 6, and 8, and that made my schedule a little more backloaded heavy. So most of my miles were on the second day. I basically rode all day on the second day, and I had prepared myself mentally and looked at the course and was ready for stage 8 because I knew that there was a lot of elevation gain climbing into the finish, but I didn't fully prepare myself for mentally the lows that I did experience in stage 6 because it's a 112-mile leg and it's on Highway 50, a good portion, the end of it. And I hit it sort of towards the middle of the day, so it was heat and all these trucks were coming by, and for whatever reason I was struggling on that section, and I really depended on my crew and my team to really help me get through that mentally. Just every ultra racer knows you're going to have these lows, and so you got to get through them, and that's just where I hit them. And I was surprised. It surprised me because normally I like the flat, fast stuff, and I was surprised that it hit me there and not going up 6 Mile Canyon. So yeah, it was a good ride, and I was definitely happy that I finished strong on 6 Mile Canyon because I felt like I didn't have the best finish to my leg 6. So that's kind of my take home.
Jody?
I think that I would say that my biggest struggle again was probably more the cold air than anything. So I had the odd stages, and I had the first, third, the 5th stage was the stage that it was just very, very cold. It was in the middle of the night. I had never ridden without sleep before. I had never ridden, in those cold temperatures actually. So that was it was a challenge for me, and Andrea and Ginger were just incredible with I was completely bundled up from head to toe, and they put me in the van to heat me up a couple times and change my nutrition around, and were just incredibly supportive. So I think that that's where I saw probably my lows in the race was in that stage, and more so I think because of the cold that I was experiencing.
How about you, Adam?
I was going back first to the altitude thing. I was surprised actually how I was affected. I'm pretty sure it was the altitude. I even woke up with a bit of a headache morning of the race, and I think that's the explanation that in the middle of the race I really didn't feel very good and kind of had to push through that, which is I think when Marco got a massive time gain. So actually through the night it was really cold, but I had brought a lot more clothes than I normally would have. I actually got a lot of new cold weather clothes and put them on early, which is something that I've typically not done before, and it served me well. But I just started feeling better the later the race got, and so that's always a good thing.
Now, Jim, this is pretty amazing. You're on a 4-person team, and you were 30 miles away from the turnaround in Eureka when Marco came by heading the other direction. Was that cool for you to see somebody going that fast, or demoralizing?
Well, it was cool for me, George, because I wasn't on the bike. No, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, he was just smoking up the road, and it was pretty wild. And we did a mileage check to see how far we were from the turnaround, and it was just 30 miles. So he was really just, and there was quite a gap in terms of I can't remember who was running second at that point, if it was Adam or Crow, but there was a fairly good sized gap in terms of time already, before the next rider rolled through. So it was clear that he was just really just having a heck of a ride.
This is Over the Top Radio. I'm George Thomas. This is our Fall Race Series 508 wrap-up show with Mick Walsh, Adam Bickett, Jill DeFreitas Robinson, Jody Lawson, Mike Wilson, Jim Ryan, Marco Ballo, and Andrea Alfaro. Thank you for hopping in. Our drawing for the Cardo BK1 Duo is taking place at the end of the show. BK1 Duo. You want the best communication system for your endurance competition? This is it. CardoSystems.com. CardoSystems.com. Now let's run through these kind of quick from each of you. I'd love to know your favorite part of the course. Adam, let's start with you.
Oh, that's a tough one. As difficult as they were, both the climbs, actually all of the climbs, the climb out of and into Austin was very cool. Carroll Summit at night with a full moon was awesome, even though it was 30 degrees. And the last climb up 6 Mile Canyon was surprising. I'd heard that it was steep, but it really was steep, and I've never seen that kind of climbing in a 500-mile race before. So I probably liked it because I felt good, but yeah, that was an awesome experience. The climbing is totally different from what you find on the Furnace Creek course.
Marco, how about you? What was your favorite part?
Well, I could probably say all of the race. Let me think. Yeah, I think I liked the parts from Austin to Eureka and then back to Austin. It was like this. The first climb out of Austin, that was a good climb, yeah. But after that, you have this ups and downs, not really steep and not really long, which I could really push over the big gear, and I was really flying over those. So I felt really good on this, and I was telling my crew I hope I get close to an hour advantage by turn by Eureka, and I think I got close. So that was kind of cool for me.
Mick, how about you?
I think, well, probably because of my mental state, I think coming back from Eureka, I mean, I was hitting that, I was, 1:30 a.m., I think, when I was leaving Eureka, so it was the middle of the night, but the full moon was out, and I was starting to feel better, and it was like, okay, I can see who I can catch, nothing to lose now, I'm just going to get home, and you turn around, you're on the home stretch, and, and the cold didn't really bother me. I had those nice new sealskins gloves. So they kept me warm, and didn't even wear booties. So that was a fun part of the course, just kind of getting back into the race.
Jim, how about you?
I think, George, I would have to say the Geiger Pass climb, although I didn't ride either direction on that, but just the differentiation in the terrain, going out and coming back, from towards 6 Mile Canyon on the way out, and then coming back, climbing up it, and then on the return for 6 Mile Canyon, we had our woman rider Wanda Tachi was out there, and she was putting the hammer down, and she put a huge gap. They left the last time station, she and a guy from one of the other 50-plus teams, and by the time she got to the top of Geiger, she had about 30 minutes on him, so that was pretty cool to see.
Jill?
Yeah, I would have to say I liked the descent out of Carroll, or out of Austin, the Carroll Summit descent. It was a really nice sweeping turns, and it was just super fun. Early in the morning, sun was rising, and there was all these cool tarantulas crossing the road. It was just a really cool sort of.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, they were big, several of them, and it was just a cool thing. And it was going really fast, and it felt good, and I think that was probably my favorite time of the race.
How about you, Jody?
Geiger grade, definitely. I loved the climb. I could climb that every day. I just really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was beautiful. Loved the descent. Had a great time on that.
And Mr. Wilson, how about you?
I think anybody can probably guess what my normal answer would be because I always say nighttime is the right time, and I agree with most of these guys that Eureka back to Austin was epic and night and the moon. But there was one other thing, and that is summiting Geiger first thing in the morning. I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but we came over like 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th place, something like that, and there's a stack of horses just standing in the road looking at us going, hey, what are you guys doing up here? And just seeing these majestic wild horses in the middle of, right between Geiger Summit and Virginia City was amazing because for the first time in my riding on my road bike, I'm sitting here going, holy cow, how do I not spook these horses and how do I get by them without crashing? So that was pretty amazing. Great. What a wonderful course.
All right, I got 2 questions left for everybody. First one, would you like to see this remain as the 508 course? Marco, let's start with you.
It's hard to say. I don't know. I love the old course too. True that one thing that is better here, the road surfaces. I don't know. I did it I did the Furnace Creek 10 years ago, so I cannot be a judge of that. But the road surfaces seem to be a lot better than on the old one. Otherwise, I love both courses, so I'd love to be back on either one of them. So it doesn't change anything for me. I like both courses.
Jim Ryan, you've been on the old course a lot. What do you think of this one in comparison? Would you like to see it stay there?
You know, it'd be great if there was a little more climbing on that course. And I think the thing for me is I love loop courses versus out and back, so it's not a deal breaker, but it would have been awesome if that could have been sort of formatted into a loop somehow. I know there's limited roads, but loops are a little bit more of an adventure, and that plus a little more altitude would have been good.
How about you, Adam? I know you're a big fan of the Hoodoo course as well. Did that compare favorably?
Oh, it's still a very different race. I'd like to have both, really. I do want the Furnace Creek course back, but I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the new route. I thought the out and back would be maybe a bad thing, but I actually really enjoyed that aspect of it because you get to see both vantage points. And yeah, there's a lot to like about this new course. But still I have a lot of history with the old course. So.
Mike Wilson, you're another one who's completed a lot out there in Death Valley.
It's hard to say. It's just, the 508's a 508, whether it's Hemet or Furnace Creek or Silver State or Arizona. So pretty much wherever Chris says the 508's going, I think I'm going to follow. But this course did not disappoint. That, from my perspective, was pretty doggone challenging.
Jody?
Well, this is the first time I've done a 500-mile race, so I love the course. I think Highway 50 was a little challenging, I think, on the second day, so that might be nice if maybe we have a little less of that. Lots of traffic, lots of high-speed trucks going by, so that was hard to watch. Jill was doing that segment, and it was kind of scary watching the trucks come pretty close to her. So that's, I think, the one aspect I didn't like about it. But as for the rest of the course, I loved it.
How about you, Jill?
I would definitely be a fan of keeping them both. I liked this course. I thought it was fun and it had different challenges. But, the Furnace Creek course is going to be near and dear to my heart just because it was my first 500 and as a team, and just where my first ultra race, and it's kind of it's special. There's some special things out there in the desert, so I think they need a both.
And
today.
Mick, you got the Trona 356 last year. Which did you prefer?
I think the Reno one was I kind of been in Reno, swung it because it's closer for me. I think the Furnace Creek course has a lot of tradition. It's a pretty cool place. We're going down below sea level, but I guess it all depends. And I think Chris had said at the pre-race meeting that I think he originally was thinking of doing a second race, and that he may, however he gets along with the parks department to get Furnace Creek back to do the two of them. But and I learned to shut up when I was going to complain about the bad road surface in Reno. She said, "Oh, it's much better than Cal Baker." So I hadn't ridden up Cal Baker. So, but and the traffic. But there's traffic in Furnace Creek too on the last section there. So it's Reno's good. Whatever, as Mike says, whatever Chris decides he wants to do, we'll go race.
All right. Basically, a one-word answer from each of you. What's your next event? And Adam, let's start with you.
The only solid thing on the calendar is Ram, but we'll see. There'll probably be other races.
Mike?
Part of the South 500.
Jill?
Pass? I don't know.
Jody?
I don't know.
Andrea?
Well, that's a good question. I do not have any plan yet. I'm working on it, though.
How about you, Marco?
I'm guessing Sebring 24 in February. I like this year, so I want to. I just did it this year because I had a broken shoulder. So next year I want to do 24. I hope I make it.
Jim Ryan?
What are you doing? Fishing for double trouble in Maupin, Oregon?
Well, there you go. I guess you're coming to double trouble.
Yeah, I don't know.
Try on your clothing for the new Panache Endurance team.
That's right. Good plug.
And Mick Walsh.
Double trouble. Is that an event? It is an event.
It certainly is. Both the ride and the party.
Understatement.
All right. Here is the moment we've all been waiting for. We've got a whole bunch of pieces of paper in this hat. Amelia, you here? Say hello.
Hi.
Okay, take a draw there and tell us the lucky winner.
I can't read.
Well, I will read it.
Thank you.
Okay, winner of the Cardo BK1 Duo is Billy Edwards.
Wow.
Billy Edwards, congratulations to you. Thanks for listening to all the shows, sending in answers from each one of them, and really appreciate it. We've got a Cardo BK1 Duo here with your name on it. And I do want to let everyone know that we are going to be starting another contest very, very shortly to give out another Cardo BK1 Duo. So keep it tuned right here to Over the Top Radio. Mike Wilson, Mick Walsh, Jim Ryan, Jill DeFreitas Robinson, Jody Lawston, Andrea Alfaro, Marco Ballo, and Adam Bickett. I did that all from memory, so I hope I got every one of you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
And thank you, Cardo Systems, for helping us out with this wonderful fall race series. And ending up our 508 wrap-up from Boulder, Colorado, Over the Top Radio, I'm George Thomas. Have a good night, everybody.